Hi, everyone. This is Anna Crowe with the Get Real podcast, where CEOs, CMOs, and communications experts and leaders share their real advice. It's 6 questions under 9 minutes because we get to it real fast. So let's get to it. I'm thrilled to have today's guest on. In a few sentences, could you please tell us who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Davide Vigano, and I'm co-founder and CEO of a company called Sensoria.
Fantastic. And David, what would you say is the best thing about being a leader in your industry?
So our industry is a new, nascent industry. Some people refer to that as human augmentation or IOME, which is the IoT of the human body. So if you can think about wearable devices today, they are kind of limited to the wrist, right? We wear an Apple Watch or a Fitbit type of device, and they're great devices, but they're limited in terms of the type of data that they can collect from the position that they have on the body. What Sensoria does and what other companies are doing is pretty fascinating. It's actually trying to inject biometric sensing technology into whatever we wear. So think about, we all wake up in the morning. You and I probably did the same thing this morning. We woke up, took a shower, we put our clothes on, right? Wouldn't it be nice to have sensing technology as part of our footwear, our garments, and our apparel, so that we don't have to remember to wear a wearable device, number one. And number two, we have the sensors positioned in the ideal part of the body where they belong. So the quality of the data that we can collect and the type of data that we can collect can help us in a very wide range of scenarios. So that's the best thing about being in this industry. I'm not sure if we're a leader or not, but we certainly strive to be a leader. And we're honestly, zigzagging a lot, but we're actually writing a new book, which is human augmentation and IOME. There is no book, there is no guidance out there. We're truly at the beginning, I think, of a new industry.
Wow, very impressive. And I know you have put out some really great innovation and products out there, some in partnerships with other brands as well. And to your point, I mean, data is so powerful, and how cool would it be to really have that all in your fingertips and truly understand and self-assess and be able to make decisions based on that data, right?
So absolutely. And that's key. That is absolutely key for everybody, for every one of us, for sure.
Yep, definitely. Well, I hear from other leaders that creating authentic connections, whether it's your customers or your employees or your partners, can be challenging when there's a lot of noise out there. What's your take on that?
Well, it's been a crazy year, right? No matter how you look at it, from multiple aspects and different dimensions. 2020 has been a year where the noise level has been probably the highest that I remember, and it's been a wild ride for all of us. And as a startup company, as you know, any company has been hit, very hard by the pandemic, and we are no exception for sure. But the good news is that what we do is more meaningful than ever, right? So think about being able to monitor aging adults and patients just by wearing a piece of garment or footwear and monitor their symptoms remotely. This is becoming a necessity right now. If you think about the explosion in telemedicine and remote patient monitoring, is due to the fact that it's probably not a wise thing to do to bring a patient with diabetes or hypertension, multiple other comorbidities into a clinic just to monitor their rehab, as an example, right? There are things that we should be able to do remotely, and we are doing that, right? So it's a great benefit and much safer for the patient. Is definitely safer for the caregiver or the clinician. And I think that technology can be used to take advantage of the fact that we can actually collect this meaningful data remotely without putting patients and clinicians at risk, right? So that I think has allowed us to actually build a very meaningful and personal connection with not just our customers, but also with academic institutions as well, which have been looking for this type of solutions for a very, very long time.
That's great to hear. And it sounds to me like creating that connection amidst the noise partially is really listening to what's happening in the space, understanding the space, understanding the industry, understanding what the marketing environment is doing and the challenges and the changes, right? And then providing a service, a product, a solution that can help mitigate risk and can help really be relevant in a time where it's much needed. So that's great. Do you have any other real advice for other leaders? Is there anything else that you think is really important?
Well, you said it better than I probably could. I mean, you said solution, right? Some people in our industry tend to get passionate about the technicalities of the solution. But there are so many problems out there that need a solution and don't have one. I can give you some examples here. Diabetic foot complications is just one area where we didn't know about the need at all before working with the USC Keck School of Medicine on a solution to prevent the risk of amputation. And so that's one example. People on a wheelchair, how do we help them reduce the risk of ulceration, right? So there are so many areas where technology can help. Think about people that have a total knee replacement type of procedure. How do you monitor them remotely in their journey to recovery through a remote physical therapy model, right? So there are so many areas where we can help by applying technology without necessarily thinking about the technology itself and the beauty of the technology itself, but simply applying available technology, both hardware and software and algorithms, artificial intelligence algorithms, to really solve problems that have plagued humanity for such a long time. And that will be true during the pandemic, but beyond the pandemic, of course, as well. Because we're changing the way we work, right? We're learning how to work remotely much more efficiently, probably due to the fact that this earthquake happened, right? So we are forced to do it. And once you're forced to do it, that kind of ignites this type of change. So my suggestion to other people in this industry and leaders in this industry is really to focus on the need of the customer, the need of the solution itself, not necessarily the technology behind.
That's great advice. Thank you for sharing that. And you're right, it's forced us to change very quickly, probably quicker than we anticipated. Yep. But no, that's fantastic. Well, before we get to our final question, are there any other successful executives such as yourself that you would like to give a shout out to or think should be on this podcast?
Well, yeah, I think there are so many executives in this field that are doing a fantastic job, and I can mention quite a few, but I think that any healthcare executive owes it to himself or herself to think about how to serve more efficiently with higher value their community of patients and their own healthcare workers, right? I mean, I think I want to thank all the healthcare workers. We relied on them in an unreasonable way up to a level that was, quite frankly, unreasonable during this pandemic, and we will have to continue to rely on them. They are the true heroes to me. And during this period, we're lucky enough for us, thanks to science, we have a vaccine. My shout out goes to all of them, to all the executives in this field and all the single workers in this field, because I can tell you, Anna, I'm always in awe when I speak with these people, how passionate and how selfish less they are in what they do every day. So thanks to them. That's to me, that's what matters the most to all of us, I think.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Well, our last question is a bit of a fun one and maybe a reflective one. we obviously know about your current role and some of the work that you've done, but how did it get started? Tell us about your first job.
No, that's a great question. And we end with the beginning, I guess, right? So I started as an intern many years ago, working for Microsoft in the international localization team. I don't know if that means anything to you, but at that time, most of the software development was in English. So Microsoft decided to actually start translating that software for international markets beyond English-speaking markets. And so I was hired from Italy together with a bunch of other crazy 20-year-old as an intern from other countries to help that type of process, basically telling developers that currency used outside the US they're not always the US dollar, right? So don't hard code US dollar or date formats into whatever you do when you design and develop a piece of software, because people will have to change that, right? So that was a pretty fun period of time. We were 20 interns, all between 20 and 25 years of age. And 3 years later, the group was 30% of the revenues of the company. So that was pretty amazing, an amazing journey for all of us. We learned a lot, that's for sure.
Wow, that's very cool experience. Right out of the gate. That's
It was.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Well, very cool. Well, how can people get a hold of you or learn more about Sensoria?
So we have two websites. We have a healthcare specific website, and that's sensoriahealth.com. And then we have a sports and fitness dedicated website called sensoriafitness.com. And you can reach us by sending email to info@sensoriainc.com.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate you joining us, and thanks everyone for tuning in. This is Anna Crowe. For more insights, visit us at crowepr.com. Thanks so much.